Welcome to this video. Today I have an interview with the PQ winner for General Games Chirnside in Melbourne. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Sure. I'm Chris Palmer, otherwise known as SC Pyro. As far as my competitive background goes, I've played a variety of war games and card games, like Armada, Legion, Star Wars X-Wing, Star Wars Destiny. Played a bit of Final Fantasy TCG as well. Prior to Star Wars Unlimited, I was a top 8 contender in X-Wing. I have all the shiny dice, and also a 3-time regional champion in Star Wars Destiny, New Zealand. I'm part of Scoop City. We are a competitive SWU team based mostly in Melbourne, but also in Adelaide.
Awesome, great, thank you. You're part of Scoop City, which is a team that I'm also on, as long as with a few local Melbourne players. And as I mentioned, you won one of the PQs this set, which was amazing, the second one in Melbourne. So I'm just pulling up your deck list here. You chose to play Cad Tarkentown, which didn't have a great start this set. What made you choose to continue with Cad Tarkentown this PQ?
Hey, look, I really wanted to play CAD TT one more time before rotation makes him illegal. I've been playing CAD since set 3, and I've had a lot of success with him. 2 top 4s, 2 top 8s, and now a PQ win. Yeah, as far as I remember, like a lot of those top 4s and top 8s, I was also the top seed in the Swiss. So I've, sort of had high hopes for CAD. So it's really good to have actually taken out a PQ. With CAD not doing so well in the meta at the moment, well, at the time of planning for the tournament, it wasn't doing so well. I was looking at potentially playing Han1 Green. But however, I think it was Jack. Jack showed me some event results from the States, and I saw a couple of players had won some PQs. But the deck list did sort of deviate from the normal mid-range list to weenies instead. In the end, it was better to play CAD and play weenies rather than not play CAD at all. So it was pretty good. Also, I've been playing a lot of Flesh and Blood recently. I've been playing a deck called Dash IO, which is like it's a complex aggro deck that puts a lot of pressure on the opponents. So moving from the mid-range strategy that I normally play into an aggro strategy wasn't too jarring. It wasn't too hard.
Yeah, awesome. Now, as you mentioned, you've been playing mid-range CAD most of these sets. And then Jack showed you some Weenies CADs that had been performing, but you've made some personal changes to the list. What kind of changes did you make for this PQ?
Yeah, sure. So I looked at 2 deck lists. I looked at the two deck lists that had won larger PQs in the States. One by Greb22 and the other by Yoda Killer. I noticed that Greb22's list sort of leaned more space aggro, and it was a bit more two-dimensional. And I felt that maybe that wasn't the play into the Melbourne player base. We tend to run a lot of upgrade hate, and we tend to have plans to deal with space decks. So didn't think that was the go, but I did like seeing his list. It was interesting. As far as Yoda Killer's list, I like that a lot more, but he did lack, going back to what I just said, hard upgrade hate to deal with space decks, but also with blue to deal with blue-green villainy. Because blue-green villainy is also packing a lot more sort of control that is an upgrade. So I think that hard upgrade removal is really important. So those constables were really important. So I did adjust the sideboard a bit. I put some constables in there. I replaced my stolen haulers with an extra Dengar, a one of Bosk, no good to be dead main board. I'm trying to remember now. I also took out the RG2000 from the sideboard because I didn't think I was going to need it, and I didn't really. The one in the main board didn't do anything clutch either. It was all right. It would have been good in a mirror, but that was only the only cat at the tournament, so it wasn't going to be a problem for looks. The other thing I changed is that I swapped my surprise strikes for breaking ins. I knew there would be lots of sentinels in the Yoda decks and the Han2 decks, but also in the control decks. Panaka is very popular at the moment. I've got Zuckus. He's really great. He's got Saboteur, but the one thing I really don't want to be doing is swinging my CAD, my loaded up CAD into a Sentinel to clear it. I want him to go to base. So breaking ins are really good for enabling that strategy.
Great. Continuing with that, You mentioned specifically you're making changes for the Melbourne meta. What kind of matchups were you concerned about going into this PQ, and what kind of changes and what kind of testing did you do to prepare for them?
Yeah, so Yoda DV used to be like a match I just shat on quite easily, but it had become quite a hard matchup for CAD mid range. But I found changing to CAD weenies, it was much more manageable match. Special shout out to SC Linus for the reps he gave me into his Yoda list because that definitely helped a lot. I didn't practice into any Hun 2s because I was already winning those matchups really comfortably with CAD mid range. So I figured the mid range, the weenies list wouldn't have a problem either. And yeah, no, the weenies list absolutely slaughters Hun 2. It's funny. It's yeah. When I prepare for a PQ, specifically a PQ in Australia, I always have blue green villainy, control slash mid range in mind, especially for the top eight. You have to plan for those matchups. Uh, even if your planning doesn't pan out the way you want it to. Luckily I get a lot of practice against Eggs on Toast, who's a really probably the best green blue villainy player, if not the best player in Australia, period. But I get a lot of practice against him at Melbourne. So I had strategy in mind for those matchups as well. I haven't actually been playing much Star Wars. I haven't touched Petronaki or Korriba since the last PQ. That's just because I've been playing a lot of Flesh and Blood. So the only practice I really got was the 2 weeks ahead at Melbourne, and both nights at Melbourne I was soundly beaten. I was bottom of the table, but I did at least learn a lot from those games, which is good, I guess. And I also have, I'm lucky to have extensive experience on CAD, but also just having a great team, with the SC guys. I was able to glean a lot of insight on the meta just from chatting to, you, Jack, Linus, and Eggs on Discord.
Yeah, I can definitely feel that having a great team that you can leverage really does improve your testing and your lead up to a PQ. So I'm going to bring up your run for the day. Very impressive run. Are there any notable games and matches that you'd like to talk about here?
Yeah, I can take you through the whole thing. It's all good. So round one, I got paired against GG mates Scalathrax from normally a player who plays a gaming arena who I'm familiar with, who normally plays Han Red, or he's normally experimenting with Han Red lists. But today he was on Han One Yellow, which at this point I don't think I'd seen any results for in this set. It's quite possible there had been some, but I hadn't seen them yet. So I wasn't expecting a Han One Yellow, and I didn't really want to play into that because that, for me, for mid range CAD, that's a bad matchup. Feel like it would be even worse. It could potentially be an even worse matchup for Weenie's CAD, and with new cards like Faith in Our Friends, it is specifically bad matchup for CAD Weenies. So this did not go too well. I think with some deck list changes, I could make the matchup a bit better. But no, Scalathrax beat me 2-0. So I had to submarine from there. The other thing that was quite ironic about this matchup is that, last time I was in Chirnside for, I think it was the second Melbourne PQ, I was playing my top 4 match was against a Han One Yellow, and I lost that as well. So got a bit of a history with Han One Yellow in Chirnside, funny enough. So round 2, I was paired into Jay Daniels. It was a standard Vader, Vader yellow list. I know the matchup. I didn't have all the tools I normally have for the matchup. I normally have quite a lot of anti-space deck tools in my CAD mid-range deck, like Sardons and mixture daring raids that really help with the matchup. But because I obviously lost my first match, I was playing into someone maybe who hadn't done so well in their first match either, and I just went under it 2-0, with CAD weenies. Just I'd aggregate it. Round 3, I played against KJ. Shout out to KJ. He's like me, an ex-Destiny player, and he was on Hansu Blue Force, so 28 hit points in the base. And wow, CAD Weenies just puts too much pressure on that list. Once you've locked them out of the Force, it's just really, really hard for them to come back. So I won those games, mostly controlling the board, and 2-0 against KJ. Round 4, I got paired into SC Fridge, and we both wanted to, we wanted to both make the top 8, so we drew. You and I drew for that match. I think it was pretty lucky for me that you wanted to draw because honestly, Han 1 green is a nightmare for CAD. It's quite hard to beat. I have done it before at important PQs, but it doesn't mean I can just do it again whenever I want to. It's a rough match, so I'm glad we drew that. On round 5, I played PJ Wilson, who was on Carlo DV. I did not expect to see Carlo DV. Maybe I should have, but I drew pretty well in this game, and I just went under him. My CAD Weenies deck just killed him either on the flip turn or as he flipped. He was basically dead. If I recall, the last game against him, the second match, I finished it with a breaking and just ignoring his Carlo, just swinging my CAD like a mallet through to the base. And so I was pretty happy with that deck building decision at that point. Round 6, I played against Sam H41 on Yoda DV. Sam is normally a CAD Talking player himself, but the traitor had won a showdown with Yoda DV and he just decided to stick with it, which is funny. But Sam and I had a really close game here. I took the first round. He beat me in the second. And then the third match, and I could be wrong about how I remember this, so he can correct me if I'm wrong. But from what I remember, on my CAD flip, I did a Bazine Gorindin Wombo combo. So I Bazined his hand. I took out either a Rival's Fall or a Vanquish, and then I Garindined it. I took up the other removal. So I took both his blue removal out, flipped my CAD, and in the turn following that, after putting some more damage on base, I finished it with a sneak attack Devastator. So pretty good result there. I was actually very worried about the Yoda DV matchup, even though I did have some practice, because it had been doing quite well. But yeah, so I was really glad to take that out because that put me into the top 8, as we'll see coming up. Yeah, top 8 matches. So in the top 8, I got paired against Squirtle on Sabine CL. This seems like a really hard matchup for Sabine CL. I didn't realize it's going into it, but CAD Weenies just goes right under her. You think Sabine CL is supposed to be the aggro deck there, but it's the CAD Weenies puts way too much pressure. I think Sabines get forced to Talk in Town early. I think they have no choice, and it just gets there faster. In the first game, I think Squirtle played the pass game, and I got a bit of free damage in, and I just got there a lot quicker than he did. But in the second game, it was a lot closer. I think he claimed, and then Rebel assaulted me, put me down to 22 life. If I had not played the Zuckus the turn before, I would have lost because he was a 19. I needed the 6 from the Zuckus to finish him and win that game. So I swung for 6 and got exactly lethal that turn. So I won that one 2-0. My next match is the top 4. I got Eggs on Toast, another Carlo DV matchup. This did not go as well for me as it did in the Swiss. I did not draw as well as I could have, but Ollie's also a much better control player than most. So he was whipping my ass, but he actually conceded so I could go to the top table, get a chance of taking out the PQ. So thank you, Ollie, for that. Top table, playing Stretch on Piet Red. So Stretch and I play a lot at Melbourne. He's a Melbourne regular. So we've played this matchup a lot, although I'm usually on mid-range CAD. So I think the lines are a lot thinner for me into this matchup with mid-range CAD. And if you guys want to see this finals, it is on the stream. This was stream. So if you guys want to watch it, I think it's a pretty good match. You can watch it there.
Awesome. Thanks for your discussion on that. Looks like you had a really great run. Just a fun question for you. What would you consider your most important and most influential sideboard for this PQ? And I'll bring up your deck list again.
Look, the most important one, the thing that is just really good into a lot of these late matchups that go a lot later, is Sneak Attack and Devastator. It's a classic. It's nothing new. It's nothing unexpected. Well, it can be a little unexpected, but the point is that you shouldn't be surprised that is a strong play that we've had in the meta for a while, and yeah, it's still strong, and that is good into things like Carlo DV, Yoda DV, and Piet.
Yeah, sudden 13 damages can easily close out games, especially when you're on an aggro deck like this.
Yeah.
Um, so your game three against Piet Red. As you mentioned, it is on stream. I'll be sure to link that in the description below. Walk us through your thought process for clutching that game three, because I remember watching this live. You got barraged twice, which for Weenie's deck is normally just instant death. How did you manage to think your way out of that situation?
Yeah, I can go through that with you. So I had as you said, I had a really rough draw in this game. I I didn't get my double one drops that I really wanted to see, but did, however, have a Garandon, which gave me a shot at taking out some ramp. And yeah, I hit resupply, which was great. I hit the resupply, and then I think Stretch drew straight into laser Extinction right after and played it. So I had taken out that resupply. I played a weak unit that doesn't really do much. I mean, I guess you could. I did take a card from hand because it's not like Bazine where he gets the draw. Garandon, if you take a card, you take it and it's gone. And as you said, from that turn three, I just had to build my board. So I managed to draw some one drops and I played a bunch of one drops and I started to put pressure on him. But Stretch just came through with barrage after barrage in that game. I just had to keep playing units and refilling my board. I got over a really clutch rate a waylay. Saved myself H damage because he barraged his what his droid ship is called, the 6/6 invisible hand. He played barrage on his invisible hand, wiped my board. I was in a lot of trouble, but I top decked a waylay, which saved me that 8 damage, which kept me in the game. On my CAD flip, I played a sudden ferocity from resources, and he just removed that upgrade straight away with one of his little droids. So that was a really good play from him. So I only managed to swing for 4 damage that turn, but luckily I think because he had used 2 barrages, I had a full HP CAD. If he didn't drew any other sort of chip damage, I think he only has 3 vents of the new 3/2 card. Let's call it Wall. I think it doesn't have any other removal other than Turbo Blazer Blast, Barrage, and let's call it Wall. So it didn't seem to draw any let's call it wars because he didn't chip my CAD and then attack his units into it. He just didn't have enough. So my CAD was healthy, right? And I just kept swinging with CAD into base, put a gun in it the next turn. He had to replay his invisible hand, so he had to spend 4 resources for that. So yeah, the way I won it was just basically knowing that he had very few options for killing CAD, right? He had to use his units and his events, or draw his last barrage, which luckily he didn't. When I came up to that last turn, when he was on 24 hit points and I had CAD with a gun, I knew I had it because I had, even if he drew the barrage and did the 8 damage to CAD, I still had the little guy. Got my deck list right here. What am I talking? The gunslinger. I had a gunslinger I played from the turn before to swing for 2, and then I also had a devastator in hand to swing to do the final 4 damage. So I sort of knew into going to that last turn that I probably had the game.
Awesome. Yeah, amazing. Thanks for that recap. Now, obviously, being the winner of this event, you played well and you did amazing. But throughout the day, what would you say is one mistake you made that you definitely won't be making again?
Yeah, so there was a turn against Eggs on Toast where I played Garandon and I called a card I knew was in his hand from the turn before, and I called Vader, and the Vader had been resourced, and of course there was a Super Laser Blast in hand instead. So I think if I called Super Laser Blast, that game might have gone a little better for me. But I called Vader, the Vader was gone. He played around my Garandon on my flip turn, and I got blasted the next turn. So I think my learning from there is with cards like Garandon, sometimes you just still go for the thing that's the worst thing you want to see, the last thing you want to see, even if you know what's in their hand. In those really clutch moments, I think you still have to target the worst case scenario just in case they top deck it. I think that was my biggest learning from the tournament.
Awesome. Yeah, Grindin is definitely a big skill play. Well, thank you for your time. I'm sure I've learned a lot, and it was great speaking to you.
Yeah, man, it's always good talking to you, bro. All right, catch you later, Fletch.
Bye.